Let us start the 33rd session of Secrets of Spirituality. I was discussing this particular slide yesterday, where the first point I had covered, while practicing yogasanas, the blood circulation improves fully and is of uniform distribution, and with other exercises, it improves only to some extent and is of unequal distribution. I was giving the example of walking regularly, which is not actually a complete exercise. That is only going to relax the body to some extent, and the blood circulation may be improved only to the legs and not to other parts of the body. Similarly, when people involve in heavy jogging, that is also not advisable as far as the human anatomy is concerned, because while jogging, there is a lot of pressure on the knee joints, and because of the pressure on the knee joints, gradually in the old age, they may develop knee pain as such. So it is not really advisable for having a regular or rapid jogging as such. This has been my opinion through the experience of the practice of yoga, and I feel I have a good knowledge of human body, and that is how I am telling all these things. Otherwise, people may object this particular opinion, and they may say that when everybody is jogging, when everybody is walking, why should it be objected? But I am comparing all those exercises with the yogasana, and I am honestly or transparently telling the advantages of yogasana. In case of yogasana, stress that is stored in the muscles is released fully, because yogasana basically comprises of very slow and steady movements and slow and gradual movements. Whereas in case of other exercises, the stress that is released partially, sometimes the stress may be released adversely. Because in some exercises in the gymnasium, there can be very rapid movements along with the props or along with some equipments, which may at times affect the physiology of the body as well. But for that matter, excessive practice of yogasana also is going to affect the physical health. Some of the yogasanas which are in the field now, which have been invented in the past few decades, they are not mentioned in the classical yoga textbooks at all. There are classical yoga textbooks such as Hatha Yoga Pradipika and Ghiranda Samhita. In these books, whatever yogasanas are mentioned, it is very safe to practice all of them. But in the modern days, even when the practice of yoga also became highly commercialized and it became a style, there have been many different types of exercises added into the mainstream practices. But many of them have no serious health benefit at all. So that way it is always advisable to practice yogasanas under an expert guidance, not just to practice for some fancy. Because when you practice many such complicated yogasanas, that way also it may affect the physical health adversely. Now with the yogasanas, there are wide varieties of exercises present, such as sitting postures, lying postures, and standing postures. They are present in plenty. Whereas with the other exercises, mainly it is repetitive actions. Maybe you compare with the exercises which you do at the gymnasium, or you compare those exercises with the aerobics also. Mostly they are repetitive actions without much variety, and that too, standing type of exercises are present mainly. Whereas with the practice of yogasanas, there are all types of postures available. One more thing to add here is, in the classical practice of yogasanas, no need of any props. Except for the mat, there is no need of any other prop. But in the recent days, usage of props also had become a style, where people started teaching yogasanas using many types of props. But that is not mentioned anywhere in the classical textbooks also. Now the fifth point is body becomes flexible and adaptable because of stretching. That it is a very slow and steady stretching. Whereas with the other exercises, due to the repetitive movement, body becomes tough and rugged because of strengthening. In terms of other physical exercises, instead of stretching the body, it is strengthening the body, and because of which body will become tough and rugged. At the same time, body may not remain flexible and adaptable. For example, a bodybuilder or a wrestler, if we ask him to touch his back using his own right palm or left palm, it will be very difficult for him because he has made his arms and his hands very much tough and very much rugged. That way, even though there is a strength in the arms and in the hands, for his regular movements of the body, there is no flexibility. Now there are exercises for the sense organs as well as the internal organs with the case of yogasanas. There are some beautiful kriyas or mudras. There is one particular practice called bandhatraya, in which there is an exercise as well as a pranayama. It is a combination of physical exercise along with the pranayama. So there are exercises for the sense organs, whereas with the other types of exercises, there is no such improvement or there is no such importance given to the sense organs or to the internal organs. For example, there is a particular method of pranayama called panchasahita. By the practice of this particular pranayama, even the liver gets strengthened, heart gets strengthened, lungs get strengthened, intestines get strengthened. Even though it is a basic breathing exercise, it with many different ratios, wherein each type of ratio is actually meant for the health of a particular internal organ. That is the contribution of the spiritual masters into the yogic tradition. We don't know who invented this Bandhatraya Pranayama or Panchasahita Pranayama. Bandhatraya Pranayama is so ancient, it was mentioned in the Yoga Taravali book written by Adi Shankara. That means even at the time of Adi Shankara, Bandhatraya was known. So we really don't know who invented it. In the same way, we really don't know who invented the Savitri Pranayama, who invented a Panchasahita Pranayama. But they are part of the spiritual lineage. So there are such beautiful practices with the yogasanas, whereas such practices are not at all there with the other exercises. Seventh point is, with the practice of yogasanas, breathing becomes slow and deep, whereas with the other exercises, breathing becomes rapid and shallow. Whenever you do rapid repetitive movements, breathing actually becomes more and more rapid and more shallow. In the sense, breathing is happening only to the upper chest region. Whereas with the practice of yogasanas, as there is enough of twisting, bending postures, the complete torso of the body is going to be exercised, and that way breathing can happen deeper also to the lower chest or to the abdominal region also. So these are some of the comparisons between yogasanas and other physical exercises. Let me continue to the next slide. Comparison is continued. The eighth point is, there are no age restrictions as such because of slow movements and lack of tiredness. When you practice yogasanas, as it is practiced slowly and steadily, there will not be heavy tiredness. So that way, there is no age restriction to learn. But still, one word of caution is, some complicated asanas should not be practiced by the aged people if they start practicing yogasana after the middle age. Maybe after 35 and 40, if they start practicing, they may not be becoming experts in that. And even asanas like Padmasana is not prescribed after the age 50 because Padmasana requires twisting of the knees that may not be possible with the aged people. So that way there are some restrictions for some of the asanas, but there is no age restriction for practicing the simple asanas. For that matter, Dr. Rajkumar, the famous personality of the Kannada film industry, even he is the great honorable personality for the Karnataka state itself. So he learned yogasana at much later age only. He started practicing yogasana after the middle age only. Still, he was an expert. You have to watch that movie Kamanavillu in Kannada, where he has demonstrated so many yogasanas in the movie. So that way we can say that for the practice of yogasanas there is no age restriction as such. But people have to be careful when they practice complicated postures. But with the other exercises there are age restrictions because of rapid movements and there is tiredness thereafter. So some aged people, they prefer walking when compared to going gymnasium because some of the exercises which are there with the equipments and with the props will not be advisable for the aged people to practice. That way they prefer walking only. But as I told you, walking will not give a lot of benefit. It is also better that they practice some of the yogasanas at home in whichever way they are comfortable with, and whichever yogasanas they feel comfortable, they can keep practicing. And as I told you earlier, in the case of yogasanas, there is no need of external objects and hence no chance of injury. If at all, if you keep using props, recently I have seen that some people use chairs also, some people use ropes also while practicing yogasanas. And these are not advisable. They are not mentioned in any classical textbooks also. Maybe they came into picture when only yogasana was given more importance when compared to the other 7 practices of yoga. So strictly speaking, in the practice of yogasanas, there is no need of external objects and hence there is no chance of injury. Whereas they are used sometimes and hence there is a high chance of injury. Especially in the gymnasium, you will find so many such equipments. Even in the open air gymnasiums also, you will find so many such metallic structures. And unless they are carefully used, there is a chance of injury. 10th point is, there are rules to be followed about food and its consumption. As I had told you earlier, you cannot think of practicing yogasana when your stomach is infested with the dead bodies of birds and animals, right? And you cannot think that the same flesh will go into the bloodstream and the same flesh will occupy your own organs within or your own body within. The bird's flesh will become your flesh later on, or the animal's flesh will become your flesh later on. And is it really justifiable that way, that the God-given body is converted into an animalistic or a lower ordered body? So that way, with the practice of yogasanas, there are rules to be followed about food and its consumption. Always yogasanas are practiced in the early morning before breakfast. I should tell you an example which happened where one particular young boy, after having afternoon lunch, he went to work out in the gymnasium. Actually, when he had lunch, blood circulation was predominantly happening towards the stomach region. But he did not really bother much about his blood circulation. He simply thought of going to the gymnasium and started working out. But when he started working out, in the next half an hour, suddenly he collapsed. And when he was collapsed, he was taken to the hospital. On the way, he died. Before reaching the hospital, he died. The reason was, when there was food in the body, he was not supposed to work out in the gym, but maybe he was not aware of, or maybe nobody trained him that way. He was not aware of his own body as well. So he simply thought, let me go to gym and work out. He started working out. But at that time, body's priority was digestion. Now he started working out, body went into a highly confusing state and body collapsed. Now, maybe in that half an hour of workout, he had expended a lot of energy, and then he had a serious weakness in the internal functioning of the body, and suddenly he had a cardiac arrest and he died. So, people should be careful when to do what. So, in the case of yogasanas, there are rules to be followed about food and its consumption. There are no such rules. They are told there. In fact, in all the other physical exercises, they should advise or teach to the aspirants about the food consumption as well. Otherwise, such calamities are going to happen. Now, in the case of yogasanas, discipline of time is followed. Generally, yogasanas are prescribed always in the early morning before breakfast only, because that is when body is put into some physical practice where cleansing has happened effectively in the early morning itself. But with the other exercises, there is nothing as such. Actually, I see the modern community keeps going to the gymnasium whenever they like it. As I told you, one boy went even after lunch, and people keep going in the evenings also, at night times also, whenever we feel like, they keep going there. But body is an instrument in the hands of time, and so body should be carefully handled that way. Body's physiology at daytime is different. Body's physiology at night time is different. Early morning is best for any physical exercises because body would have taken enough rest at night, and in the early morning when it is subjected to exercises, it will accept it that way. So that way discipline of time is followed with the practice of yogasanas. There is nothing as such with the other exercises. Now, with the practice of yogasanas, concentration, awareness and mental peace increase gradually. Basically, when you keep on practicing something slowly and steadily, along with the breathing control, gradually concentration will increase, awareness of the body itself will increase. Many times, you will not be understanding your own body as such when you are normally having this lifestyle, but when you start practicing yogasanas, you will become aware of your own body and you will become more sensitive. And mental peace will gradually increase because of the slow and steady movements, patience also increases. Whereas with the other exercises, only concentration may increase with some types of sports or other exercises, not awareness, not mental peace. In fact, with the other sports activities, mental peace may be lost when they lose a game. But as yogasana is not a game, it has nothing called as winning or losing there. Whereas with other sports and games, there is a question of winning or losing. Now the 13th point is, yogasanas are practiced mainly for the internal beauty. It is for the strengthening of the nerves. Whereas some of these other exercises are mostly for the external beauty, for the building of the muscles. Finally, yogasana is basically for initiation of spirituality. Yogasana is the third part in the Ashtanga Yoga. So yoga is basically for spiritual knowledge or spiritual accomplishment. That way with the yogasana, initiation of spirituality happens. Whereas with any other exercises, there is no such initiation. If they keep exercising today, even after 25 years also, they'll keep exercising the same thing. But people, when they come into the path of yoga, initially it may be with the practice of yogasana, but gradually in the 25 years, the person would have completely transformed himself or herself into a realized one, which cannot be expected with other types of exercises. So these have been the comparisons between the yogasana and the other exercises. You can see this picture. where you can see standing postures, lying postures, sitting postures. You can see so many postures are available, varieties are available. Each of these postures has a particular name. But I'll not be telling you all those names now. That is not the intention here. But you can wonder at the varieties that are present in the practice of yogasanas. You can also see these many other varieties. There are so many such varieties. This is called Vrikshasana. This is called Utthita Vasishtasana. This is called Natarajasana. This is called Urdhva. That way, this is actually Ardhamatsendrasana. That way, each of them, they have different names. I have only told you some of the names. Let me continue further without mentioning all the names, because there are hundreds of asanas and there is no point in telling all their names here. Once you come into this path, you will gradually come to know all the names. Whatever is possible to be practiced, keeping on practicing it, is called as physical exercise. Whatever is possible to be practiced as of now, keeping on practicing it, and then whatever is not possible to be practiced as of now, keeping on trying to practice it, is called as yogasana. Therefore, yogasana is not a physical exercise, it is a physical control. In general, physical exercise means you keep on practicing whatever you can. But in the case of yogasana, you will start with the simple ones, gradually you will move on to a moderately complicated ones, gradually move on to a more complicated ones. You need not keep on practicing only the complicated ones. You can keep on practicing whatever you are comfortable with. That way, I have made 6 sets of yogasanas, right from Monday till Saturday, totally 6 sets of yogasanas with different varieties. And if you go through our YouTube channel, you people have already become familiar with all of them. Those who have not yet seen, you can go through that. There are 6 sets of yogasanas. For each day, one type. So whatever is possible to be practiced as of now, you can keep on practicing it. On Monday, it is the simpler ones. On Tuesday, it is the loosening exercises or Shithilikarana Vyayama. On Wednesday, it is Chandra Namaskara and Surya Namaskara. That way, they are all simple ones. Anybody can practice. On Thursday, it is slightly complicated ones. And on Friday, it is some other exercises, especially for the hands and the legs. And on Saturday, it is mostly the asanas along with the combination of Padmasana, mostly the sitting postures. So that way, Monday will start with the simpler ones. Gradually, Saturday will be having some challenging ones. But in our practices, I have not kept any highly complicated exercises at all, because they are not, some of these exercises are not mentioned in the classical scriptures at all. So such exercises are not there in our curriculum at all, because yogasana is basically practiced for health and not for exhibition of the personal ability. That is why you can find many complicated yogasanas in the other systems of yoga. But in these 6 sets which I have mentioned, you will not find any of those highly complicated postures. So whatever is possible to be practiced as of now, keeping on practicing it, and then whatever is not possible to be practiced as of now, keeping on trying to practice it, is called as yogasana. Therefore, yogasana is not a physical exercise. It is a physical control to make the body more flexible, more adaptable, more healthy. Now I'm going to show you some slides. You should not try these asanas. Even I am not trying. I am not teaching also. You should not try these asanas. Even though these pictures seem to be quite impressive, you should not practice. Kapotasana, you should not practice. Even though it seems so easy, it is not actually so easy. Bending like this and touching your head to the feet is not easy. Especially the backbone will have effects, especially the hip bone will have its effect. As this particular practitioner is very young, no problem that way. But we don't know the risk of practicing such asanas. We don't want to have problems to the backbone or to the hip bone especially. Hip bone is the biggest bone in the body. That way, Kapotasana, I am not practicing, I am not teaching. Chakrasana also, I am not practicing, I am not teaching. I am only teaching Vilomasana. Vilomasana means you can keep the head on the floor. That is called Vilomasana. Now lifting the torso up and standing on the legs as well as the hands. This is called Chakrasana. It is also called as Urdhva Dhanurasana. But I do not practice it for the same reason. We don't want to have a damage in the backbone or especially the hip bone. If at all you suddenly move your body up, we don't know what is the effect that is going to happen to the joint of these 33 bone joints which are there in the backbone. So I am not practicing Kapotasana, I am not practicing Chakrasana, I am not teaching them also. Even though they seem to be simple, only the younger kids can easily practice this, but not the adult ones. So please do not try. I am telling you, do not try also, because you don't know. Even if you try it once, you may have some problem there. Why do you want to invite problems in the name of practicing yogasana? That's why I am telling you, do not try. Similarly, do not try these asanas. Tittibhasana. Do not try this. I don't know whether you will be able to try or not. You can only watch this now. Even though this young aspirant has tried it, we will appreciate him for practicing this. But let us not practice this. Putting the legs here and putting the legs here behind and standing on the hands, how do you release the legs once again is a question there. And then, what is the basic use of this particular asana? Even though hands may become strengthened, there are other such asanas for strengthening the hands. We need not unnecessarily put all the body's weight on the two hands. Gradually, if at all you keep practicing the young age, in the old age, your wrist bones may get affected because of the excessive pressure that is applied. If at all you want to practice strengthening your hands, there are other asanas such as Kakasana and Bakasana. Tittibhasana need not be practiced. Similarly, Bhairavasana. Look at the complication here. Bringing the leg behind the neck and putting it like that, standing on one leg and standing on one hand. This is not a joke, in the sense body should not be bent in this manner. If it is bent in this manner, body may keep on crying, what are you doing with my joints and the bones? As I have told you, Yogasana is not a Russian circus. Yogasana is not basically gymnastics also. But people have mistaken Yogasana to be comparing with the gymnastics or Russian circus. That is not the intention of practicing yogasanas at all. As I have told you, many of these yogasanas are not present in the classical textbooks at all. These are the inventions of the modern age, when people got fascinated only with the physical aspect of yoga. So, I do not practice this. You also need not try this as well. Again, I am showing you some of the asanas which you should not try. Shirshasana. I am not trying, you need not try. But again, people may object because they think Shirshasana is the king of all the asanas. And they think that Shirshasana is one of the best asanas for increasing blood circulation to the head or to the eyes or to the ears. That is what they say. But whenever I practice Shirshasana, later on, I had some difficulties. In the sense, now legs are designed to handle the complete weight of the body. Legs are designed and manufactured to handle, let us say this particular person's body is around 75 kg. The feet are designed to withstand 75 kg of weight. But is your head designed for that? Can the head withstand that much of weight? That is the question. Even if the head is made to withstand that much of weight by means of placing these hands here, now what happens to the neck? What happens to the joints of the neck? That is the problem. So youngsters may keep practicing it, but later on they should not practice Shirshasana. Now the next question is, if head requires more amount of blood, then which other asanas are there? There are many other asanas. There is an asana called Nikunjasana. There is another asana called Sarvangasana, Viparita Karani Mudra. They also are equally beneficial in making the blood flow towards the brain. It is not that only Shirshasana is there. So I do not practice Shirshasana. I do not recommend practicing you also about Shirshasana, even though many yoga books praise Shirshasana highly. My personal experience tells me that I need not practice this by taking a lot of risk in putting my neck under trouble. Because when the head is handling this much of weight, neck gets compressed. The backside, the bones between the skull and the shoulders, they get compressed because of the weight applied. When they get compressed, later on you should not develop a neck pain because of Shirshasana. So that is why I do not practice Shirshasana. I do not teach Shirshasana. Naturally, this is out of question. Pincha Mayurasana is completely out of question. You can see that the complete body of the weight of the body is balanced only through the two hands. And I really don't know what is the serious benefit by practicing all these asanas. It is more for a personal style or more for a personal exhibition. Otherwise, what is the serious benefit here? I don't really know. Similarly, one more asana called Dimbasana. Look at the way in which body is bent. And as I told you earlier, when we do not practice that Chakrasana itself or Kapotasana itself, Dimbasana is out of question. But youngsters or young kids can always practice because their body is basically flexible. So, you should not try any of these asanas as such, which are risky. Later on, when people try all these things, when they have injuries, they should not blame yoga, because these are not part of yoga actually. Yoga is something totally divine, totally different, totally spiritual. Yoga is meant for self-realization. Asana is prescribed only for having a physical control. So that way, adding more and more of varieties of physical aspects into yogasanas and complicating it, when will people really practice the other things then? If people keep on practicing lifelong only different types of yogasanas, when will they practice pranayama? When will they practice pratyahara, dharana, dhyana? And will there be any progress if they give importance only to the physical aspect of yoga? That is where people should think a lot. Even the yoga teachers should think a lot. Whether they are making the public only interested in the physical part of yoga, or will there really be an effort to attain yoga or union? That is a serious question which yoga teachers also have to think of. Now I am telling never try. Till now I told do not try. But whatever I am showing right now, you should never try. You should never try this. This is called Kaundinyasana, where twisting the body to the side and standing on the two hands. Your hands and your shoulders all have more force here now. Similarly, Ashtavakrasana, never try. Even though these two aspirants have tried, you should never try this. You can see the Ashtavakrasana where one leg is down, one leg is up, and the legs are brought to the side. And only on the hands they are standing. If you want to make your hands stronger, there are other asanas which are safer compared to Kaundinyasana and Ashtavakrasana. Again, never try Vrishchikasana. Look at this. Standing on the hands and bending the leg front and keeping on the head. I really don't know what is the benefit out of this. Maybe the viewers will admire and the practitioner will have some pride. Beyond that, I don't find any serious benefit here in practicing such asanas. One more variation of Vrishchikasana is Gandabherundasana, where instead of standing on the hands, now body is at the floor, on the floor, and the legs are brought forward and they are kept adjacent to the two ears. This is Gandabherundasana. But think about these particular joints here, hip bone, backbone, and the neck bone. Think about them and in what way pressure is exerted on these joints. You can think about it and you can think about the risk also. And I don't know what is the serious benefit by practicing Gandabherundasana. Is yoga meant to make the body as a rubber or a elastic? Body has to be made flexible and adaptable. But body need not be twisted and turned and it need not be packed inside a small box as if it is a rubber material. So that way, I don't find any serious benefits by practicing such asanas. It is basically for a personal exhibition, nothing else. And many times when yogasana competitions happen, people who practice such asanas are given prizes. But the serious question is, should there be a yogasana competition? Is yoga meant to compete or is yoga meant to realize? People who are involved in competing, when will they realize? That is the bigger question. Of course, I am not supposed to ask such questions also. Again, people will attack me with their own other questions. When they put the sacred science of yoga into some commercialized activity, naturally, people like me are not supposed to question that. So it is better that I am talking only to a limited audience. I am talking only to serious spiritual aspirants. And I am showing all these things just to indicate how people have gone astray even in the path of yoga. They come into the path of yoga for the purpose of self-realization. But lifelong, they keep on doing physical circus or what? That is a serious question to be asked to all these aspirants who are practicing these asanas. Again, never try Yoga Nidrasana. Look at this now. Legs are brought backward and head is kept on top of the feet. As I have told you, should we make our body like a rubber band? That is a bigger question. And what is the use if we make our body like a rubber band? I really don't know. Next one is Galavasana. As I told you about Kaundinyasana and Ashtavakrasana, this is another variation where this particular person is again standing on his own hands. So, please never try any of these asanas even for the sake of curiosity. You may have bigger pain later on. But later on then don't blame yoga. Because the yoga textbooks did not tell all these things. Patanjali has directly told Sthiram Sukham Asanam. Where you can be comfortable, where you can be steady, that is called asana. Now, what are all these asanas which are showing complicated postures? Even Patanjali will wonder now. Coming to the asanas which are there in our curriculum. I have just listed all of them here. I will not go through all of them in detail, but I am showing you this particular table only to indicate the varieties. I have put all the names also, and initially I have put the set as 0 because they are not part of any set. As we have 6 sets, as I mentioned, from Monday till Saturday, the 0 means they are part of every set now. Next we have the first set, where right from Vajrasana till last Prasiddha Siddhasana, Padmasana, I have mentioned all those. And the meaning of each of these asanas also is mentioned. I will not be going in detail with any of these things. That is not my intention here. My intention is only to show you that how much of variety is possible with the normal practice of yogasanas. Now the postures can be sitting, postures can be semi-erect, lying prone, sitting, semi-erect, sitting, lying supine, inverting, and sitting again. And the action can be filling, cleansing, bending front, bending back, twisting, loosening, balancing, twisting, lifting leg side, lifting head side. That way it can go on. And there are other names for some of these asanas. For example, for Salamba Makarasana, there is a name called Adhvasana also. And for this Vyagra Kriya, there is name called Vivekasana, Bitilasana, Bidalasana also. Now for Vajrasana, there is a name called Virasana also. Tradition to tradition, names also differ. For the Baddha Konasana, there is a name called Gorakshasana also. There is a name called Tarasana also. That way, there are different names which are used in different traditions or in different teaching systems. So I am showing you the diverse practices. Even in the next slide, I am listing out the other diverse practices which are part of the next set. Now in the second set, you can see right from Swastikasana, Nischalana Kriya, Ardha Padmasana, that way it goes on till Ardhakati Kriya. And in the third set, you can see right from Pranamasana, Tadasana till Mahamudra. Actually, this is part of Chandra Namaskara and Surya Namaskara as well. Now going to the fourth set, right from Niralamba Kriya till Kraunchasana. There are many asanas and some kriyas. Some of them these are slightly complicated. That is why I had put it in the fourth set. Coming to the fifth set, this is basically meant for strengthening of the hands as well as the legs. So you can see right from Karasanchalana Kriya till Viparita Karanyasana, there is a set of yogikasanas. And lastly, the sixth set from Nartana Kriya till Bharadwajasana. These are all basically sitting postures. Some ones with Padmasana, some ones without Padmasana. But these are basically sitting postures. And these are kept at the last because most of them are with Padmasana. So before practicing Padmasana for a longer duration, you must have practiced the other asanas effectively, so that your legs will or the knees will cooperate in such sitting postures. That is why this was kept as the sixth set. Now lastly, Hastasparsha Kriya, Karadarshana and Vishramasana and Shavasana are part of the regular practices. So I have not put them under any set as such. So you can see totally 140 names are there. Some are Kriyas, some are Asanas. Kriyas means moving activities. In the Dhyanabindu Upanishad, this particular shloka is there. Asanani chatavanti yavantiyo jiva jatayaha eteshan atulan bhedan vijanati maheshwaraha. Means, asanani chatavanti yavantiyo jiva jatayaha. Those many yogasanas are there, as many life forms are there on this earth. Means asanas can be there for by imitating any of the other life forms. For example, see Kukkutasana. Kukkuta means cock. So standing as a cock is standing on the floor. That is called Kukkutasana. Kurma means tortoise. Having a posture like a tortoise. That is called Kurmasana. That way, asanani chatavanti yavantyo jivajatayaha. As many life forms are there, those many postures can be there. In fact, that is how when the yogic saints started practicing yogasanas, they have been observing the nature as such, and they just try to imitate the other birds and animals, and gradually they try to have the same postures as that of the other birds and animals. That is how these many varieties came into picture. Now, eteshan atulan bhedan vijanati maheshwaraha means out of all these things, how many differences are there, how many distinguishing factors are there, nobody knows except the Lord himself. Because Lord only created these many life forms. So he only knows the anatomy and physiology of each particular body that he has designed and manufactured. So he only knows the differences and the distinguishing factors. This is told in the Dhyana Bindu Upanishad. Now there are some Samskrita affixes, and through Samskrita wordings only the names are given. Baddha means bound, Mukta means freed, Parivrata means revolved, Prasarita means spread out, Salamba means supported, Supta means reclining, Tiryak means slant, Upavishta means seated, Utkata means immense, Utthita means extended, Viparita means inverted. In the same way, there are other words. Adho means downward, Ardha means half, Dvi means two, Tri means three. You can see the similarity here. Dvi became duo, Tri became three. You can see in Sanskrit also it is three, in English also it is three. In fact, the Sanskrit terminology is only gradually spread into the Arabic regions, into the European regions, and gradually those languages adopted the Sanskrit terminologies only. You can see so many such similarities between Samskrita and English itself. That way, these are all the Samskrita words which are utilized in the naming of the asanas. I will not go into too much of detail here because that is not my intention in this online session. Whereas when I actually conduct classes for the regular students in the offline, I actually go with these meanings in much larger detail, and I actually tell all my students to study Samskrita also. But here in the online session, that is not required as such, and I am going further. How I feel after work? Exhausted. How I feel after practicing yogasana? Should be enthusiastic. In fact, after you practice yogasana, you should feel much gratified, satisfied, and relaxed, because it is basically working out slowly and steadily, then taking rest for some time and allowing the blood to flow to all parts of the body equally well. So, how I feel after work is something different. How I feel after yoga is something different. Let me tell you some of the useful tips. Stop drinking bed coffee, bed tea, etc. Instead, practice Ushappana. This I had mentioned earlier, even during the first presentation of Art and Science of Eating. And I had told you the problems of consuming coffee and tea as well. Now I am reminding once again, you have to stop drinking bed coffee, bed tea. If you completely stop coffee and tea, that is still better. But bed coffee and bed tea is worst. Drinking coffee and tea in the empty stomach is a worst habit. Instead, practice Ushappana. In the early morning itself, take some lukewarm water or warm water or cool water, depending upon the weather conditions. Initially gargle and spit, and then drink at least 1 glass of water. Now that water will go inside your stomach. It will have a cleansing effect on your empty stomach and on the intestine as well. That practice is called as Ushappana, and I had mentioned about it earlier also. While taking bath, take hot water bath from bottom to top and cold water bath from top to bottom. Which means, if you are taking hot water bath, especially in the winter seasons or the rainy seasons, in the cold seasons, you have to take hot water bath only. When you take hot water bath from bottom to top. In the sense, take 1 mug of water, initially pour that hot water on your feet and on your torso. Later on, take 1 more mug of water and put it on your shoulders and pour it on your head. What happens here is, body will gradually become ready for accepting this hot water. Suddenly, you should not pour hot water on your head. In general, what we say? Keep the head cool, keep the feet warm, keep the stomach empty. That is what we say, right? हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं? पांव गरम रखो, सर ठंडा रखो, पेट खाली रखो. ऐसे ही बोलते हैं. लेकिन लोग क्या करते हैं? पांव ठंडा रखो, सर गरम रखो, पेट भरे रखो. ऐसे नहीं चलेगा. So when you take hot water bath, suddenly you should not pour hot water onto the head itself, because you know that in the brain there are millions of neurons. There is a complicated nervous system inside the brain. Suddenly when you apply hot water bath to the head, then suddenly there can be expansions within the system that is existing inside the head due to sudden increase in temperature. But when you put some hot water into your feet and the torso, gradually the brain immediately senses it, and the brain becomes ready for the acceptance of hot water later on. Brain becomes ready to face this particular situation. Then you apply that hot water on the head. Head will be ready to accept it as such. So take hot water bath from bottom to top, but cold water bath directly from top to bottom. You can directly pour a cold water on your head. Sir, ठंडा रखो, अच्छा ही है. Use wholesome, traditional and alkaline food. Also expose yourself to sunlight regularly. This also I had told you earlier about alkaline food and traditional food. I had shown you the table of alkaline food as well. I will not go into more detail now. I had already told you about the exposure into sunlight, where vitamin D should be produced inside the body because of the exposure to sunlight. Consume food as 50% solid, 25% liquid, and leave 25% space in the stomach. This also I had told you earlier. This is just a reminder again. Food should not be completely solid. There must be 25% liquid there, so that digestion will be enhanced. And there must be 25% free space in the stomach, so that stomach will efficiently digest your food. Drink water half an hour before or after meal, not during meal. This also I had told. If there is more liquid intake during your meal, then your meal or your food will not be digested properly, because the acid in the stomach itself will be diluted because of this excessive water. So the nutrition content of the food itself will not be absorbed into the bloodstream. So drink water half an hour before meal or half an hour after meal, not during the meal. And the quantity of water which you have to drink is based on the needs. When you are thirsty, then only you drink water. Otherwise, unnecessarily don't keep on drinking water. If you excessively drink water, that is also not good for the body. Kidney will overwork on taking out the water from your body, and the kidney may gradually develop a phobia for the water itself. That is called hydrophobia. Brain may always indicate symptoms. Whenever you pick up a glass of water, brain may show some phobia, because you have excessively put water into your system. That is why unnecessarily don't drink water. Drink water only when you become thirsty, only when it is required. Otherwise, if you are in a profession as I am there, in a talking profession, we have to keep sipping water. I actually do not drink water continuously. I keep sipping a little bit of water only to keep my throat wet. That is the purpose there. It is not because I am thirsty. Because of continuous talking, I should not have the infection of the vocal cords. That is why once in a while I sip a little amount of water. Tips continued are: avoid pungent foods, reduce salt, onion and garlic. Use milk, butter and ghee sufficiently. I had told already about salt and I had told about onion and garlic as well. Onion and garlic contain sulfur and phosphorus. To some extent, they are blood purifiers. But if they become excess, they only become irritants in the blood. So that is why excessive of onion and garlic should not be used. Excessive of salt also should not be used. But you will have to use milk, butter and ghee sufficiently. Especially the people who are involved in the practice of yogasana, they should be having enough lubricant within. Now this butter and ghee will be working as a lubricant. Even the milk will be working as a pacifying agent inside the body. Because when we practice yogasanas, there is a lot of twisting and turning. There is a lot of bending. And at that time, even the internal organs will have their own rubbing within. And there will be mild friction within the internal organs. For example, when you have Ardhamatsendrasana practicing, the stomach as well as the liver may be touching each other lightly. There will be pressure developed between them also. Now there should not be heavy friction between these organs. And even when we practice Bandhatraya, even at the small intestine, when it is touching the kidneys, between kidneys and the small intestine and the bladder, there can be a pressure developed there and there can be a light friction between them. A mild movement is actually going to help there because it is an exercise for these organs. But there requires a lubricant for all these movements so as to avoid friction. Just like we use engine oil inside all our bikes and cars. Why do we use engine oils? To avoid friction. Same way, inside our body, we also need something to avoid friction. That is milk, butter and ghee. This is told even in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika about what all foods a yogi should be consuming. Now you may say butter is a fat. Yes, butter is a fat. But butter when you consume, practice yogasana, burn the fat inside. Some amount of fat also is required to the body, right? Flesh is basically fat only. Muscle is basically fat only. To some extent fat is required. Excessive fat will be burnt out by the practice of yogasana itself. So people who are involved in yogasana, they should consume sufficient amount of milk, butter and ghee. While consuming any food article, wash your face before and mouth afterwards compulsorily. Anyhow, during this pandemic period, washing has become a norm now. Even without telling also, now people keep on washing everything. Earlier, we used to keep on telling our children to wash their hands, wash their face, wash their feet as soon as they enter the house. Earlier, they never used to follow. People never used to follow such customs earlier. Now, at least this coronavirus has made people to wash themselves thoroughly. We should thank Corona at least for making people understand about the importance of cleanliness. Especially in the Indian custom, even in the olden days, whenever people used to enter into house, there used to be a bucket of water always at the front of the house, where they always used to say to wash the feet and then come within. Because whenever people walk, they know that on the ground there will be germs, and whenever we walk, maybe in the feet, there will be germs stacked up. So as soon as they wash their feet before entering the house, those germs are washed away with water. That was the wisdom of the ancient people. Now anyhow, coronavirus has made people learn all their previous lessons. So now they wash everything as such. They understand the effect of physical cleanliness. But at the same time, people have to understand the mental cleanliness also. Coronavirus has made people to become physically clean. But have they become mentally clean or have they become mentally more dirty is another big question here. Have they learned the lessons out of this pandemic that physical cleanliness as well as mental cleanliness both are equally important? If the people have not learned these lessons, then again one more pandemic may come after some time to teach those lessons. Lessons will be repeated until lessons are learned. So now nature is teaching lessons to people about the importance of physical cleanliness along with mental cleanliness, and nature is teaching people about how it can eradicate or shatter everyone's dream that way, everyone's existence that way. Nature is showing that earth does not belong to human beings are belonging to earth. Now it is high time that people understand the spiritual lessons out of this particular pandemic period. Otherwise, maybe after a few years or after a few decades, one more bigger thing may come to teach bigger lessons. Later on, I am going to tell you the 5 hidden laws of nature in my next set of slides. So while consuming any food article, wash your face before and wash your mouth afterwards compulsorily. Before consuming any food article, let the face be clean so that if at all there are any germs on the face, let them be flown away through water. And when you consume the food article, wash your mouth compulsorily. Let the teeth be immediately made clean. Let you not wait for next day morning's brushing of the teeth. If the teeth are made immediately clean, then there will not be any stuck food particle in the corners of the teeth. And you need not visit any dentist. In fact, visiting a dentist is not at all a solution for your dental health. If you keep on washing your mouth cleanly and if you follow all the suggestions or tips given to you earlier about how to maintain the health of the mouth, then you need not visit the dentist at all. And even visiting the dentist is also not a solution at all. That is only a temporary solution. And once you start visiting a dentist, you will have to keep on visiting the dentist because the tooth will never come once again. Whether it is root canal treatment or whether it is applying a cap on the teeth or whether it is putting some wired mesh into the mouth, in whatever way, those are all other different mechanisms. Once when the teeth are disturbed, further teeth will never come. If one tooth is gone, another tooth will never grow there. So it is better that teeth are taken care of regularly. So the best solution is after you consume any food article, wash the mouth compulsorily afterwards, immediately. That way you will not allow any food particle to remain there within the corners of the teeth, and your teeth are safe that way. Cleanse your eyes regularly. Blink your eyes in a cup of water mixed with 15 drops of lemon juice. I had told about this also earlier. As I am telling you, this is again a reminder. You will have to keep your eyes also clean because with aging, it is the eyes which get aged much faster. Age is indicated by the health of the eyes. So you have to keep your eyes clean, especially in the present scenario. People are habitually using mobile phones and laptops, especially mobile phones. Everyone is habitually using mobile phones. So keeping on seeing on a small screen, keeping on concentrating into that small screen, your eyes will get aged faster. You'll have to keep on cleansing your eyes regularly. You can put 15 drops of lemon juice into a cup of water, and if you blink your eyes will be cleansed on a daily basis. Listen to devotional and relaxing music. It works by the principle of resonance of vibrations. Sound has healing power. Which sound? Any pleasant sound has healing power. So keep on listening to good music, relaxing music. Keep on listening to devotional songs. I have a personal collection of hundreds of devotional songs. So many kirtanas of Purandaradasa, Kanakadasa, Vijay Vithaladasa. So many vachanas of Basavanna, Mahadevi Akka, Allama Prabhu. And so many bhajans, Meera bhajans, Kabir Dohavali, beautiful Kabir Dohavali. And so many Hindi bhajans. I have a collection with me. And we keep on playing at home. At least in a day, in the morning time, after you finish your physical exercise, if you have free time, listen to at least one bhajan per day, one kirtana per day. Understand the lyrics. If you understand the lyrics, you are cleansing your mind also regularly. Make it a habit of listening to at least one devotional song per day. At least one devotional song per day. Maybe it is Kannada, maybe it is Hindi, or maybe it is whatever language you are comfortable with. I am telling Kannada because I am listening to Kannada songs. You can listen to any devotional song, one particular song, and try to understand the lyrics. Kanakadasa has written so many kirtanas where yoga is mentioned. I want to tell you one particular kirtana written by Purandaradasa. Mullu koneya mele ಮೂರು ಕೆರೆಯ ಕಟ್ಟೆ ಎರಡು ತುಂಬದು ಒಂದು ತುಂಬಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಮುಳ್ಳು ಕೊನೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಮೂರು ಕೆರೆಯ ಕಟ್ಟೆ. On the tip of a thorn, there are 3 ponds. In those 3 ponds, ಎರಡು ತುಂಬದು ಒಂದು ತುಂಬಲಿಲ್ಲ. 2 are not filling at all and 1 has not been filled at all. This is a mystic puzzle. But he is indicating spiritual secrets only in this particular kirtana. You can go through the lyrics of this particular song. I am repeating this once again. ಮುಳ್ಳು ಕೊನೆಯ ಮೇಲೆ ಮೂರು ಕೆರೆಯ ಕಟ್ಟೆ ಎರಡು ತುಂಬದು ಒಂದು ತುಂಬಲಿಲ್ಲ. That way it goes on. A big stanza goes on with lot of lyrics. It is completely a spiritual philosophy indicated in that kirtana. One more kirtana written by Kanakadasa. ನೀ ಮಾಯೆಯೊಳಗೋ ನಿನ್ನೊಳು ಮಾಯೆಯೋ. ಸವಿಯು ಜಿಹ್ವೆಯ ಒಳಗೋ ಜಿಹ್ವೆಯು ಸವಿಯ ಒಳಗೋ. ಸಿಹಿಯು ಸಕ್ಕರೆ ಎರಡು ನಿನ್ನೊಳಗೋ ಹರಿಯೇ. ನೀ ಮಾಯೆಯೊಳಗೋ ನಿನ್ನೊಳು ಮಾಯೆಯೋ. Are you inside illusion or is illusion inside you? Is the sweetness in the tongue or is the tongue in the sweetness? How do you differentiate between the sense of sweetness and the tongue? How are they related? Is illusion within you or are you under illusion? Again, it is a great metaphysical question which Kanakadasa is asking. What is illusion? What is reality? Think about it. That is what Kanakadasa says. I should tell one more thing to all my Kannadiga friends, that you should visit one place called Bada, where government has done a beautiful work of reconstructing Kanakadasa's palace. And they are beautifully constructed. It is worth it. And in that particular Kanakadasa's palace, so many kirtanas of Kanakadasa are engraved on marble. And the life history of Kanakadasa is beautifully depicted in that particular palace. It is a must visit for all the Kannadigas. It is in a place called Bada. So this is my suggestion or request or advice or order or command, in whichever way you take it. All Kannadigas should visit this particular place called Bada, where Kanakadasa's palace was reconstructed. Then afterwards, morning you go to Bada, visit that place. Afternoon you come back to a place called Kaginele, where Kanakadasa's grave is there and a beautiful pond is there. Adjacent to a beautiful pond, one botanical park is also there. And in the Kaginele, Adikeshava's temple is there. You can visit all that. You can plan for one-day trip to Bada and Kaginele. If you still have more time, you can also plan to visit Shishunala, where the great yogi called Sharifa had stayed there, and he was initiated into the path of yoga by his great teacher Guru Govinda Bhatta. You can visit Shishunala, and there you can understand in what way Sharifa had written lot of poems on yoga itself, purely in Kannada. All of Sharifa's poems are filled with yogic wisdom. So many are there. Anyway, I'm not going to mention all of them here. But if you are willing to listen to devotional songs, you have a lot of choice. Otherwise, people will negatively say, where do we get such songs? We are only listening to film songs. They will say. Then I will say, that was your choice to listen to film songs. Why don't you change your choice? If you change your choice, even devotional songs are also in plenty. There are thousands of songs in any language. Are you ready to listen or not? You should ask yourself. You should not simply make a negative comment that now we have only film songs, sir. We don't have any such songs. If you search, you will get them, because I have thousands of songs with me. Someday I have a plan to upload all these songs as a zip file into our website also, so that you people can also download, you people can also listen to all of them. All my collections, gradually I'll get it uploaded into our website also, where people can download and listen. There's a question here. Let me go through the question. As we mentioned about astral body of a dead person, where physical body and sense organs are absent, how could they make sounds or noise or physical movement or objects, etc.? As I explained, it happened in your grandmother's house. Yes, they have astral body, they have pranamaya kosha. When they have pranamaya kosha, what is prana? Prana is basically energy, right? Now air is not actually a physical matter. But when air blows, air also makes sound, right? Air can make objects to move, right? In the same way, when there is an energetic body or etheric body, when that body moves, it can make objects also move. It can make sounds also. That prana is again a dense matter only. But dense matter is not visible to your eyes. It is not visible to the normal physical sense organs. But that matter exists. This is a gradation of matter, where the physical matter is most gross. From Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha, there is a gradation of matter itself. All these 5 koshas are matter only. But physical body is the grossest matter. Anandamaya Kosha, or the spiritual body or blissful body, is the subtlest matter. It is all collection of matter only. That way even pranamaya kosha is dense enough for movement. That is how possession also will happen. A ghost will possess a person's body. How? The ghost will simply occupy the person's body by means of its own energetic body. That is how it can make sounds also. It can move objects also. You watch the movie Ghost. If you have not yet watched the movie, watch the movie Ghost. You will understand about how Ghost is also trained in that movie. So, in general, such astral body can harm the living beings. Whether harming or non-harming is up to its own intention. When it is moving, when you are not seeing, you are thinking as if it is harming. But you are giving an example of a serial killer, a terrorist is dead. Is it possible for such astral person to do the same work after death through some other means? No, that particular person has to get possessed onto some other physical body to stab somebody else. A ghost cannot pick up a knife and it cannot stab somebody. Okay, it does not have hands that way. It can move in its own way just like air is moving. That is possible. When air is moving and objects are falling. In the same way, when it is moving, some objects may be falling. Then you may get afraid that it may do something else. But it will not pick up a gun and shoot at you. It does not have a hand to pick up the gun that way. Now, if it wants somebody to be shot by a gun, the ghost has to possess a living body. It has to come upon somebody else. And that somebody else must be instigated or provoked by the ghost itself to pick up the gun and shoot. If the ghost is so much intelligent, it will not remain a ghost. Okay. As I told you earlier, all ghosts are stupid and foolish and ignorant. That is why they become ghosts. If the ghosts are intelligent and wise, why will they remain ghosts? They will elevate themselves into ancestral plane or better spiritual plane. So you need not keep on worrying about ghost only. Many times I observe that you ask only such questions. You need not occupy your mind only thinking about ghosts or evil things only. You divert your mind, they will not disturb you. It works with the law of psychic attraction. In general, whatever you think of, you will attract such situations, such people, such circumstances. You change your thought process gradually, the way in which you attract situations, it will become different. Now gradually, they will not bother you. For example, if let us say you are a chain smoker of cigarettes, you keep thinking of smoking cigarettes only, naturally you will have friends who will have all types of smoking habits only. This is called as law of psychic attraction. I am going to talk about those 5 laws in my next set of slides in detail anyhow. So until then, you need not bother whether ghost will bother you or not. You start chanting the Gayatri mantra, no ghost will come to your house. Why? You only tell me. Why? Because once you start chanting Gayatri mantra, the vibes at your home will change. When the vibes at your home will change, the complete prana or the auric field which is around your body and in the house, when it is going to change, even if a ghost comes there, it will not have a resonance there. When it does not have a resonance, it does not want to stay there. It will simply go away wherever it is comfortable with. For example, today is our 33rd session, and in these 33 sessions, we have discussed so many things. How many people have remained? Very less people have remained. Where all other people went? For all those other people, the law of psychic attraction did not work. Why did not work? Because their mind is occupied with something else. When their mind is occupied with something else, when they keep thinking of something else, gradually they will get that something else only. So this works with the simple principle, law of psychic attraction. You attract whatever you think. So don't keep on thinking about ghosts. You need not be afraid of ghosts also. They are all stupid, ignorant, and I should say less knowledgeable beings. Even when they were living also, they did not learn their lessons. Even when they become ghosts also, they will not learn their lessons. That is their fate. Again, that's a law of karma. Until lessons are until lessons are learned, lessons will be repeated. Leave it for them. Don't worry. You have to learn your lessons. That's all. So if at all you want to be protected against these evil beings, so to say, you get involved in mantra yoga, you get involved in laya yoga, you get involved in hatha yoga, you get involved in raja yoga. When the fish is in contact with the water, it is the water which is protecting the fish. Fish need not be afraid of octopus. Fish need not be afraid of whale also, because it is the water which is going to protect the fish. I have told you essentially whatever I have to say. I think I have answered your question now. I think you have got the answer also. So you keep on listening to devotional music. Naturally, what will happen? Understand the lyrics of that particular poem. Naturally, what will happen? Your mind gets occupied with spiritual thoughts only. Because all those devotional songs are basically spiritual songs only. So when you understand the lyrics, maybe it is a Tamil poem, maybe it is a Telugu poem, maybe it is a Malayalam poem, maybe it is a Kannada poem, maybe it is a Hindi poem, Marathi poem, whichever poem. All devotional poems or devotional songs, they contain some essential spiritual teaching there. You understand the lyrics, you will understand the intention of the person who has written it. I should tell you a small story now. Santa Tukaram was a great saint who was in the region of Maharashtra, whatever we call now. He always used to chant the name of Panduranga, Panduranga, Vithala, Vithala. He used to keep on chanting Lord's name that way. Now one day, the villagers decided to go for a pilgrimage. Many days pilgrimage. Around many spiritual places or religious places, so to say. Not spiritual places, religious places, so to say. So all these villagers went to Tukaram's house and they invited him that let him accompany them also for the pilgrimage. But Tukaram already knew any pilgrimage is basically waste of time, because pilgrimage is not going to yield any spiritual results. People kept on pleading him that let him give a company. Finally, as people kept on requesting him or urging him, what Tukaram told them was, I will not come with you, but I will send one particular object with you as my representative. I will put that object inside a cloth bag and I will stitch it. You should not open this cloth bag anywhere, and you should take it wherever you go. It is my representative. And wherever you go, wherever you take bath, dip this particular object also there, so that it is as if I am also accompanying you. And when you have a dip in the water there, in whichever holy place you consider, gradually it is as if I am also taking a dip there. Then after you complete your pilgrimage, you bring that object back to me. It is as if it is representing me. So finally people thought, at least he is not coming, he is sending something with us as his representative, that is also fine. So people went for a big pilgrimage. They visited many religious places. Wherever they went, they took bath there, either in the river or in the pond. And wherever they had a dip in water, they dipped this particular object also, which was hidden inside a cloth bag. And after the pilgrimage, these people, villagers, came back. When they came back, they went to Tukaram's house and they gave him that particular object back. And they told him, wherever we have gone, we have dipped this particular object also, because it was your representative. But we are curious, what is there inside that cloth bag? As you have stitched it, we could not see it. But we want to know what is there inside the cloth bag. Now Tukaram opened that particular bag, and inside the bag there was a bitter gourd. And he told, now as this bitter gourd has gone to many religious places, as it has taken a dip in all the holy waters, now let me cut this bitter gourd and give it to all of you to taste it. And he cut the bitter gourd into pieces and he gave it to all of them to taste it. They all tasted it. It was bitter only. Now Tukaram asked them, you went for pilgrimage and you dipped yourself there, and then you dipped this bitter gourd also there, but the bitter gourd has remained bitter only. It has not left its bitterness. That means, was it a pilgrimage? Was it a holy water? Now people were ashamed, people were aghast. In fact, Tukaram was meaning to them only that have they left their bitterness after they had a pilgrimage, after they had dipped themselves in so many holy waters. What actually is a holy water that way? So this was the great message given by Tukaram to the villagers. There is no point in visiting places in search of God, and there is no point in visiting places in search of sanctity or purity or holiness or whatever. Holiness or sanctity or purity has to be within ourselves. So that way, if you keep on listening to the devotional songs and if you keep on trying to understand the lyrics of the songs, that itself is a great educational resource in the domain of spirituality. That is my answer. So if you listen one devotional song per day and understand the lyrics, that is enough. No other evil entity will disturb you at all in any way, because you will have a spiritual protection automatically with you. That is what is the meaning of the shloka in the Bhagavad Gita. Ananyas chintayanto ma ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. If possible, study the Bhagavad Gita, and if possible, try to live as per the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. That is enough. There is no other protection measures required. Let me go to the last point of today. The last point is study the spiritual books, comprehend the nature of the self, and be aware of your higher spirits. Study the spiritual books. I have mentioned enough spiritual books till now, and I have put a list of those books in our website also. You will study all of them, then try to comprehend the nature of the self as much as possible. Put your efforts towards self-realization and be aware of your higher spirits. Once you are into the path of spiritual evolution, without your own knowledge, you will be watched, you will be observed, you will be monitored by some other evolved spirits. And if I have to tell you more explanation, let us say I am teaching in an engineering college and I teach to a classroom of 80 students. Out of the 80 students, I will be knowing in the beginning itself, in the first week or second week itself, I will be knowing who are the intentive listeners, who are the intentive learners, who are the learners in this class. Gradually it will be only 3 or 4 or 5 in a classroom of 80. And when there is 3 or 4 or 5, without their own knowledge, I will be watching their progress. Without those students knowing me, that I am watching them, I will be watching their progress, I will be suggesting them, I will be advising them. Sometimes I will be calling them to the staff room and I will be asking them if there are problems in their performance. Because I am concerned. They may not be knowing that I am concerned about them. But I am concerned because I have identified these learners. The same principle applies in the spiritual domain. Once you come into the spiritual domain, automatically, without your own knowledge, you will be watched, you will be observed, you will be monitored, sometimes you will be guided, sometimes you will be protected by your higher spirits. I have told you many of my experiences, and now I should admit that even I have been monitored, I have been guided, I have been protected at many instances. And right now also I am being monitored about whatever I am doing. Right now also I am being guided, I am being protected. But I don't have a personal contact. I should frankly admit, I don't have a personal contact. But I am sure that I am being monitored, I am being guided, I am being protected. So, that is my personal experience. If you want to have your personal experience, you will have to make a choice of dedicating yourself into coming into the spiritual path. Again, that remains your choice. It is 9:05 today. Let me end the session for today. See you on Monday. Until then, take care and goodbye.